wanted to pull it up.
You said you were ready, and then you start talking. This is how we're going to start it off. Jesus Christ. Are you good?
I'm good now.
Okay. All right. Thanks for putting a shirt on. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and start the show now.
Go for it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miguel Myers. Welcome to my horror confessional, where occasionally I'll have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. We'll discuss the movie, the actors, and probably get off topic quite a bit. Once I believe they have properly atoned, I will absolve them of their horror movie sin. This week, we have co-host Zach Chapman back on, who was just on a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And you watched
Audition.
Right. And in that movie, or at the end of the movie, so that was by Takashi Miike. And at the end of that movie, the movie that I recommended to you was Ichi the Killer. And so we actually started watching it together, and then baby stuff got in the way, and it was just fine. And then you watch it by yourself and you're like, let's talk about it. So I thought we might do a shorter episode just to kind of get a chance to talk about this movie. And we're just going to go off vibes on this. I don't have a script, not going to go see my scene or anything like that. I just wanted to kind of get your feel for what you thought about this movie. So you hadn't seen Ichi the Killer, obviously, correct?
Correct.
And is it because what's the reason for it not having seen? Had you not heard of Ichi the Killer?
I'd heard of it, but I was not really familiar with it.
Okay. And I know, so Takashi Miike, it was the movie that we saw 2 weeks ago, whatever, Audition. Was that your first Miike?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Different movie than this one, right? Like, doesn't feel like the same director.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
Yeah. And Ichi the Killer was 2001 and Audition was 99, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 years later, and it feels like a completely different director. So first of all, what was your general vibe for the movie, your sense for the movie?
Oh man, this one's harder to talk about than Audition. Well, also, there are two movies that you told me to watch. One was Ichi the Killer. The other one, I think, was Old Boy. And we're going to watch that.
And we're going to watch that later this month. I bought the ticket. It's a sofa.
It's next week, right?
No, it's in August, I think. It's in August sometime.
Oh, okay.
But the only seats left were a sofa, a couch. So me and you are going to get real close. And that's fine. Just keep your hands to yourself. I won't be keeping my hands to myself, but you should keep your hands to yourself.
You're giving me a handy.
Yeah.
The whole movie.
Cut that. Oh shit, I can't cut it out of the Patreon. But yeah, so we're gonna be watching it next month.
Yeah. I mean, as far as this movie, Ichi the Killer compared to Audition, it's not that it feels like a more mature director, or not necessarily a more mature director, but a more confident director. Because the directing in Ichi the Killer it's really good, I think. Like, whoa, stylistically.
I have to disagree with you there. I did not like the direction of this movie. I liked Audition better. But Audition was more subdued.
Yeah.
I kind of feel, just talking about it immediately, I'm like, it kind of goes with the protagonists of our movie, or I guess the antagonists of our movie, right?
Yeah.
Because in Audition, what's the actress's name? Is it Asami, right? Asami, the character Asami, is so like reserved, and that's how she draws people in, right? She's like very reserved, and I felt like the directing of the movie was more reserved, whereas with Ichi the Killer, the antagonist of this one, would you say there's dual antagonists, Ichi the Killer, and then
Yeah, I mean,
Kakihara?
there's not a protagonist. If
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's just too bad. Well, everyone's pretty much a bad guy.
yeah. Even the little kid is a bad. I mean, like,
Yeah,
well, anyway, but so the energy given off by one of the antagonists in this movie, in Ichi the Killer, Kakihara, who's basically a Joker archetype. Right? So I feel the direction lends itself more to the energy that character is given off. But I prefer the directing in Audition. Let me real quick. Let me just, if you haven't seen Ichi the Killer by Takashi Miike, real quick, IMDb summary of it. As sadomasochistic Yakuza enforcer, Kakihara searches for his missing boss. He comes across Ichi, a repressed and psychotic killer who may be able to inflict levels of pain that Kakihara has only dreamed of achieving. Just reading that, did we ever find the boss?
I think that the boss was dead from the beginning.
But were we
Or
shown that? Or is it more like a MacGuffin? You know what a MacGuffin is?
yeah, I think it's like a MacGuffin,
Okay.
or rather like an inciting incident thing.
Well, I would say it's an inciting incident if they didn't like reference it or like.
I think for the
Mhm.
first like 30 minutes, it's meant to be like a serious MacGuffin.
Mm,
And then after that, you slowly begin to realize that this movie doesn't have to do with like, it shifts from where you're thinking, oh, maybe it's like revenge. And then you're like, oh no, it's like literally like the seeking out of a killer to get him to kill our protagonist or one of the antagonists. It's a weird movie. And I when I said I didn't, I'm not sure if I said better. I said a more mature director, or like a director that's like more confident of
okay.
themselves. And I do prefer Audition to this movie because I think Audition is just a better movie. It doesn't This movie says a lot of stuff like about violence and sadomasochism that's like very interesting. Like, the plot of the movie is a sadomasochist trying to get a sicko murderer to murder him, is basically like what it boils down to. And the ending is great because there is a payoff for that. Like, you're gradually finding out that, oh, this isn't really about like trying to uh avenge a dead Yakuza boss. It's actually about trying to like inflict as much pain on other people and as much pain on yourself as possible. Like, that's basically the plot, which is uh interesting for sure. But there's parts of this that are like so dated or so hard to watch. And
Yeah,
there's things that are like,
CGI.
yeah, like the Ichi the Killer is there's a lot of really hard like triggering violence upon women in this movie.
Yes,
It's
a lot of
full
it.
of it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's full of extreme violence. This is the most like debauched thing that I've watched. It like,
Ever?
Audition is, I think so, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, this is literally torture porn. Like,
Mm,
there
yeah.
is like a part in this movie. I don't know if I should even get into it, but it is incredibly graphic. But it's
Get,
like,
get into it. I mean, as long as you're not talking about, there's a lot of trigger warning for like SA and stuff like that. You're not talking about that, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean
Is
that
that
happens. Like as it's as bad as it gets.
no,
Like
no, no.
I'm
I
not
understand. I thought you were like talking about a specific incident, like for example, the hanging part that doesn't have to do with as sexual assault. Um,
yeah, I mean there is body parts that get cut off of both genders. Is what
yeah.
I'll say.
Do you know what this felt like? This felt like. Well, I know this came out way before, but what was it? Kick Ass? Remember that movie, Kick Ass, that superhero movie?
Yeah.
It felt like that, or that one that not Rain, Rain
Yeah.
Wilson, that one.
Smoking Aces? Is
No,
that what you're gonna? Oh, Deadpool?
please stop.
What are you saying? Ryan Reynolds. What Ryan Reynolds movie is this?
I immediately said no, wrong name. Rain Wilson, the Dwight from The Office.
I haven't seen that one.
He did a Super. Yeah, where he's just a really violent superhero and like kills people with like wrenches and shit like that, right? Anyway, but this felt like it's kind of like a superhero origin story, really. I mean, if Batman if Batman's mom had been sexually assaulted instead of killed in an alleyway, perhaps Bruce Wayne would have been like this.
This it I think that Ichi's whole design, and when I say Ichi the character, I think his design is really lame and just brings the movie down a whole star because uh the foil character, who's I forget his name, it's like Aki Hara or something like that.
Kakihara. Oh, you're talking about the dude with the lips with the
Yeah,
rings. Yeah, Kakihara.
the guy on the cover,
Yeah, Kakihara. Yeah, who we thought when we
Kakihara.
started watching, we thought he was Ichi the Killer.
Yeah,
And like up until like 20-30 minutes when they're in the room with Kakihara and they say Ichi, I'm like, oh shit, so he's not Ichi.
yeah. He's trying to find Ichi.
Yeah.
At first, he's trying to find and avenge, but he starts learning that like he's like, oh my god, Ichi is like he kind of starts like looking up to Ichi in a way. Like he's just because he's such a sadomasochist and Ichi is like such an amazing sicko killer that he's like, oh, I've got to be killed by this guy. That's gonna be awesome. Um and,
Yeah.
which to me is like kind of interesting. I think it's a little bit like less like the Joker and more like he's not an agent of chaos. He's like he like represents like violence and pain and like inflicting pain on others and having pain inflicted upon him, which I think is like a weird, I don't know, it's a weird thing to explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's like pain for pain's sake, violence for violence sake. I mean, it doesn't match up 100% to Joker, but I think it's like a Joker vibe for sure. For
Well,
me,
especially the way his design
his
is
design
so
is
cool. His
that.
acting is crazy good. Like, yeah, he has these two. His mouth's been cut down the middle, but maybe he did that himself. Maybe not. His
Oh
lips are
shit, I hadn't
being.
even thought about the fact that maybe he did it to himself. Yeah.
That's how crazy he is, and he has lip rings that pull his mouth together because his mouth's been cut open like the Joker, and then
And
he's
he's
got
got sharp
scars on his
teeth,
face.
apparently.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got like
shaved
rows and
teeth,
rows of teeth.
um, bleach blonde hair, blonde. I don't know, his whole vibe and his clothing just is amazing. Like everyone's clothing and style in this movie, except for Ichi's, is cool. Ichi is just wearing uh like
Chest protector.
motorcycle
Yeah.
gear. Yeah.
Like or he could be like a catcher in baseball,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
protective gear, that sort of thing. But I mean,
Sports gear.
yeah, but I don't know. I think that feels more like the year one vibe. year zero, I should say, vibe. You know, like he's not he doesn't want to do it. Although I don't know, there's a lot of depth to this movie that if you were to just focus on the torture porn, you wouldn't think that it's there. But there is a lot there. I'm thinking that woman who so Ichi he's like a contract killer. He works for somebody who gets him the contracts, and then people go in and clean up after him. And the person who gets in the contracts meets up with this woman, Karen, right? The Japanese woman who speaks English,
Yeah.
and like is talking to that guy, and gets information that that guy has kind of brainwashed Ichi into thinking that he was bullied as a kid, and that he's just killing these people like as revenge against the bullies.
This is okay. I have to interject here because I feel like the part of the movie that you're describing was ripped off full cloth for a PG-13. That little subplot. This movie, oh, I guess it is rated R, but it's basically PG-13 or even G compared to this movie. It's a movie called Unleashed. It came out in 2005. It has Jet Li and Morgan Freeman and Bob Hoskin in it.
Okay.
And Jet Li is Jet Li.
Mm-hmm.
He's like amazing. And he's Bob Hoskins, like literal like attack dog. He wears a collar. And then when Bob Hoskins takes the collar off, he basically turns into Ichi the Killer. And so it makes Bob Hoskins like a crime boss.
Okay.
And then something happens to where he gets like knocked out or something, and then starts getting rehabilitated without his collar. So basically, like you have someone who is like using an ultimate fighter that's brainwashed, which is basically like,
but that came out in 2005. This came out in 01.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that movie ripped
this
off.
movie, which is a movie I saw when I was like 15.
Yeah.
But like that movie must have seen Ichi the Killer and then just said like, I want to make this more of a mainstream Hollywood movie.
Less rapey vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's I think why I don't like Ichi as like it does have more depth than Audition. Like there's like secret depths to this movie, but it's so like awkward to watch. Like and the goofiness of Ichi, I just can't get over. Like his method of killing people is he's got like basically like shoes that have little daggers that pop out of the heels. Dude, that's fucking lame. Like that's not cool.
That's the only way he kills, right? He kicks people, like he kills them in different parts of the body. Like he'll slash throats, he comes down on the head, he slices off a leg, but it is only kicking, right? That's his only weapon.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, the more interesting character is definitely Kakihara for me. But the depths, this movie it makes it hard to like this movie with all the violence towards women in it, and even like that part where the woman's on the table, and the two brothers that are like helping Kakihara.
Yeah.
And he like smells her. It's just like, come on, man. Like
it's too much.
Yeah.
Even though it's like done well, it's like, I don't know. I mean, some parts of it almost seem like gleeful in the way the violence is depicted.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I much prefer Audition. But yeah, this movie is worth watching if you can get over that. Like there are there are parts to really like. Like I do really like a lot of the directing, and some of the things have aged terribly.
The
Like
CGI is,
there's terrible CGI.
yeah, but
It
2001, like I can't remember, but like this is after Jurassic Park, right? I mean, Jurassic Park was like 94 and it had great, I mean, like the CGI still holds up. I know that the budget's not there, but I mean, it's 6, 7 years later, the technology was better, I would imagine. Or I don't know, like the Mummy Returns was terrible, and that was
but
millions of
I would
dollars.
say like there are parts that look really good. There's a bunch of practical gore that looks incredible in this movie. And then there's a scene there, and then there is like some CGI where he cuts someone's face off, where it's like, that's not terrible.
And
It
it's sliding
was,
down the wall.
yeah, I was like, this isn't terrible. But there's a part where he cuts someone in half and the body, like, I mean, it looks worse than like 1999 Mortal Kombat KO or like kill. Like it looks that bad.
The inside looks like the inside of the the Terminator and T2, like the one that's liquid metal, and
Yeah.
it's like it's got no insides, it's just metal. Like
Yeah.
that's what the inside looks like. There's no organs or anything. It's yeah, it looks pretty bad. It was pretty laughable. It takes you out a little bit. The part where that's what is so frustrating about this movie is there's parts to like, and then like for example, when the design of Kakihara is great. Like we talked about, and then he takes out the lip rings, no, the cheek rings, and he can unhinge his jaw or whatever, and he takes a punch. Like that's cool. That is really cool. But the CGI is so bad, and it looks like he has just mouth, just like rows and rows of teeth. Maybe he does actually. Now that I think about it, maybe that's just the design of the character, and not so much bad CGI. I don't know.
There's a part in this movie where he cuts off
His
about half
tongue.
of his tongue and it looks really good. Like
Yeah,
it's intent, and they don't cut back. Like there's parts in Audition where they cut away. They don't cut away at all. They like you see like the whole bit of it. They use a I think some CGI and some prosthetic, and it's just like, wow, okay.
that's what was annoying to me. Like that up until that point, like I'm in it, like it's cool, I'm enjoying it, and then he what did he do? Oh, this was after he hung that guy up from his back skin, which we haven't even talked about that. But like that's after that, and he's insulted them, and so typically in Yakuza, from the movies I've seen, right? I don't know shit about Yakuza other than what I've seen in the movies. When you insult somebody, whatever, you're required to cut a pinky off or a finger off or whatever. Instead of doing that, he he has a tongue ring, pulls out his tongue and slices that, and they don't cut away, but which is terrible but great as well. But then it grows back like a scene later, so it's like there's really not any stake in it, no pun intended there. Like it's not, it was comical to me after that point. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's like cutting your nails for him. Like it doesn't really matter. You know,
Yeah.
I just it didn't hit after that. But now that I'm thinking about it, that was our first inkling of the ending, right? Because I guess this fucker can't die, right?
Well,
He's got a regenerative process.
I think he does die in the end. Like
Yep.
so when
Go ahead.
you towards the end, he just wants to be killed by Ichi, right? But the end is Ichi accidentally kills someone who he thinks is his brother, and then his someone who he thinks is his brother's son witnesses it, and then Ichi is like very unstable, and so he just starts crying and wailing and lays on the ground. And this whole time, like the guy, Kikihara, wants to fight and to be killed in some like epic way by Ichi. And Ichi, and this is like kind of like a great literary ending. Ichi's just like on the ground crying, and the guy's like, "Wait, like get up, like what are you doing? Stop, it's not supposed to be like this." And then the wailing starts getting to him, and he takes his like two little stiletto knives and he pierces his eardrums and into his brain. And then like as he's piercing into his brain, he has this hallucination of Ichi getting up and smashing, like cutting his head open with his foot and then knocking him off the side of the building and then him falling. And he's like, "This is awesome," as he dies. But that doesn't really happen. And we know it doesn't happen because when that scene ends, it pulls back and you see Kikihara on the ground, like in a pool of his own blood, having fallen, but he doesn't have the cut mark to his head that Ichi in his hallucination had given to him. So it's just like he just fell. He just wanted to be killed by this guy, and then he just killed himself, which is kind of funny.
Okay, that's what you took from that. So then what happened to Ichi?
Yo, I don't know. Like potentially he got beaten to death by that kid, and that would be kind of cool.
I got to look it up now because that's not what I got.
What did you get?
So what I got was we saw exactly what happened. He finally gets up, kicks him in the head. He falls down. The guy who gets him the contracts like goes down to see Kakihara, and he sees that the cut is gone, so he knows like that he can't be killed. The regenerative process is too quick. And then Kakihara, we flash to him just later on in his bathtub, kind of like soaking, and he's like kind of contemplating being immortal, sort of. Maybe not immortal, but not can't be killed. Let me that's how I was taking. I may be wrong. Let me see. Okay, so Ichi charges at Kakihara, embedding a bladed boot into his forehead. Kakihara falls from the roof to his death. However, when Gigi, who is the guy who gets the contracts for him, finds him, Kakihara has no wound in his head. He hallucinated both Takeshi's murder and Ichi's attack. Years later, Gigi's corpse hangs from the tree in a park. A young man resembling an older Takeshi leaves the park with a group of school children. So then just Ichi died on the rooftop?
I was thinking that Takeshi killed Ichi. Just beat him to death.
Okay.
But yeah, that scene, like, I don't know. I don't think Kikihara. I think, yeah, he hallucinated the murder and then he died.
That's interesting. That's I don't know. What do you feel? How did you feel about that ending?
I mean, I really like that ending. I think it's cool. Like I think it's literary in a way. But also this movie is so full of dumb stuff that it's hard. There's so many pieces that you can like pull out and say this is really good, but then there's other pieces where it's like this guy is a fucking axe handle, like a axe on his shoe, and that's how he kills people, and that's dumb. Like it's just objectively dumb.
We didn't even talk about the fact that the man who plays Funaki in this movie, he's Jun Kunimura, and that's the main dude from Audition.
Yeah, and he's good in it. He's good, and he's great in both. But I don't really like Ichi. Like he's
I don't like the sniveling, and I
yeah,
get it. I get it. Like it's cool to have a reluctant killer, right? But like it's so much. Like this movie's extreme in a lot of ways, and but I've seen it in a lot of Japanese crime movies. Specifically, I'm thinking of there's a series that both you and I bought from like Arrow.
yeah.
Do you remember what it was called? Like,
Honor without something
yeah,
something honor fights without honors. I don't. Yeah,
it's called Battles Without Honor and Humanity.
it said
And
fights without honor. I was close.
yeah, and it's like 5 movies. It's like 5 series. It's supposed to be like a Godfather saga in Japan and with Yakuza and stuff like that, starting from like pre-World War One or maybe World War Two. I don't remember. But I tried watching that first one, and it's just endless bowing and crying and apologizing over and over and over again for like literally I was like halfway through and like I can't do it anymore, you know. But I see that a lot, like especially in the Kira Kurosawa movies that I would watch, like that are like samurai based, not so much like his ones that are set like in current Japan at the time, but like the Japanese ones like Yojimbo and stuff like that. It's just like endless. It's just a lot. I don't know. You haven't have you seen a lot of Akira Kurosawa?
I think I've seen like 2 of his films. He has a Criterion trilogy out, right?
I mean, I'm sure he does. He's one of the most famous
Yeah, I
best
saw
directors ever.
like one of the samurai movies or 2 of the samurai movies.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's so all that like crying and like begging and like, and then especially at the end, it was just you like we want this epic battle, like you were saying, and it's just anticlimactic, anticlimactic,
Climactic.
climactic, anticlimactic.
You got it.
Zach, thanks, fuck you. Zach and I recently started playing chess together. It's just chess has gone through the whole crew. Now everybody's playing it, and I feel real dumb right now, losing to Zach all the goddamn time, and then also having trouble with words. So this is fun. This is fun for
Hey, you're consistently beating Taylor, and she was
uh,
number 2 in her class. So
I mean, I'm not going to insult Taylor
you're
or her.
kind of a genius, bro.
No, you're just saying that so that you're even more of a genius because you're always being.
No, I actually got some sense knocked into me when I got that concussion. So
Yeah, Zach is still concussed. Were you concussed last time too? I don't remember.
I can't
Maybe not.
remember either.
Yeah. All right, back to this movie. Um, I mean, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I mean, like that Karen part of it was kind of fucked, where like she wanted to get into his head, and so she pretended to be. Oh man, she pretended to be the woman that was
I,
SA'd because she tried to help him. It's like Japan is so fucked when it comes to sex stuff. Like
I don't
not Japan, I'm sorry. The
understand
media that I
why.
have seen come out of Japan, the media that I have seen coming out
In
of Japan.
compared to our cultural whatever, where
Yeah,
our
we
culture
all
is. We
are
have a different whatever. So
different
but
fuck ups.
yeah. But like I didn't really understand why she did that, like both what her motivation was for trying to convince him that she was the person that she saved him from being beat up and then inadvertently got assaulted for it. Uh in the brainwash. This didn't, by the way, this didn't even happen.
Right. It didn't happen.
Yeah, it's just some brainwashing technique that this character who's trying to systematically take out the Yakuza did, right? So
Gigi.
um
Gigi is that character.
Gigi. Anyways, I couldn't figure out why she did that. And it gets her like, other than for the plot to have another woman be killed on screen in a graphic way, I don't know.
Um, I can understand why she would do it. I think it's stupid because she could have gone about it an easier way. But at that point, she's already gotten with Kakihara. she wanted to be his girlfriend, and he gave her like a try, right? A tryout, like he was letting her whip him, and she wasn't doing it as hard. Like he was looking for more pain. So he's like, this ain't it. It's not happening. And so she knows that he's looking for Ichi, and she meets that contract killer guy. And so she tries to get close to Ichi in the hopes of getting Ichi to like come to Kakihara, that sort of thing. That's
Ah,
But like as soon as she found out who it was, she could have just told Kakihara who it was, She didn't
yeah.
need to put herself in that situation, but that's where I think it's more interesting and fucked up the way she went about it, and in the end it cost her life, well, at least a leg and her life, right? We do see her die as well, yeah. So but it's I don't know, it's just kind of dumb.
Yeah, that part just seemed a stretch for me, and I didn't understand if there was like a literary reason for that character to do that, because like I said, this movie has really smart themes. Like it
What are some of the themes?
well, like sadomasochism and revenge and violence, like and bullying, and its takes are like kind of sophisticated, like how this kid who's been bullied like ends up being a bully and a murderer.
Who was
And there is no
quote
like
unquote bullied?
quote unquote bullied, and there is like no, I guess there's this narrative, it's subversive because there's this narrative where the person who gets bullied ends up being heroic, and it's like, no, you're kind of thinking that for the first like 20 minutes of this movie, and then it's like, oh wait, no, the person who got bullied and the person that you're thinking might be the hero that's killing these Yakuza guys, actually he's potentially more sick and fucked in the head than the Yakuza guys. So
I don't think anybody's more. I can agree with you up to a point, but I don't think anybody's as sick as Kakihara. That motherfucker, like he hangs a dude from a hook. Reminded me of The Cell, which I think came out in 1989.
yeah,
So they might have taken it inspiration from that. But
but I think what I mean, I guess what's less sick about him is that like he's defined by like he is a sadomasochist. So he gets pleasure from hurting other people, and he gets pleasure from being hurt himself. Ichi, and that's it, just pleasure, right?
mhm,
Ichi gets sexual gratification
yeah,
from those things. So that's why I like Ichi is just gross. Whereas like Kakihara is like a fucking like twisted sicko, but he's not getting sexual gratification. And so like for
yeah,
whatever
that's true.
reason in my head, it's like
Well,
and he's a cooler design, and he like,
you'd be
is
him for
just,
Halloween.
yeah, like he's just like, you kind of want to watch him on screen because he's not like sniveling and sniving around and like assaulting women. You
Yeah,
know, he when that's done, it's done in a way that it's consenting with that other girl.
yeah, that's
And
true.
then when she says stop to that to Ichi kills her. So like it's I don't know. Like there's so many themes that are based on violence, and this is like such a triggering movie. I can't possibly like. I think I might have said I recommend it. It's like you can't recommend it without like massive asterisks, massive caveats.
I didn't
Like,
do that to you, my bad. But it had been a minute since I watched it, so I didn't
oh yeah,
remember all the.
I didn't know it was going to be as intense as it was. I think it's the most like debauched movie. I don't think I've seen a movie that's
You
as
need to watch The Devils. That's not a recommendation. I mean, yes, it's a not official recommendation, but that movie is pretty depraved.
Yeah, is that one by
Ken Russell.
Ken Russell? Okay, for
Yeah,
some reason I thought that was a Rob Zombie movie.
no fucking way. Are you kidding me? No, maybe you're thinking the Lords of Salem or something. It,
Uh,
Ken
Devil's
Russell.
Reject is what I was thinking.
Oh, Devil's Reject. Oh, come on.
I never saw I never saw
Oh
that.
yeah, I would never recommend to you a Rob Zombie movie. Please, please.
It's just called The Devils and it's 1970.
Yeah, Ken Russell. Do I have it? No, I don't have it. But there's a scene in that movie that's called The Rape of Christ. And it's just about like nuns fucking below the crucifix. It's pretty intense. The whole movie's intense, but anyway, we were not here to talk about that. So Ichi the Killer, I did want to talk about Kakihara and like some of the shit that he did. So he did the hanging, and then at one point he's just like starts pulling on somebody's cheeks.
Yeah.
That's so weird. That's really fucking weird. And then Karen comes in and you think she's gonna try kind of like help the guy. She doesn't, she just joins in.
She grabs the other cheek.
Yeah, and then Kakihara also uses, we talked about this when we were watching it. He uses kind of like, I don't know if they're specifically acupuncture needles, but they're very long needles that resemble acupuncture needles, and
Yeah.
he did that in Audition as well. But in this one, he like puts him in dude's face all over, and he's just like throwing him at him. It's I like Kakihara as a character more than I like Ichi, and I think it's kind of goes to what you're saying. When you add sex into it, it's really weird. Like, it's hard for me to give this like a goodwill towards this movie and feel good about it, because it does leave you feeling really fucking dirty. And
Yeah.
anybody who says that Ichi the Killer is their favorite movie, I question whether or not like you're trying to be edgy, because this is like edge lord
Yeah,
territory
that's
right here.
yeah. I don't think there's anything edgelord about Audition, but that's the other thing. That's a really good way to put, like, it's like if an edgelord made good points about violence and had some interesting plot things and interesting themes and made a movie, and it's like I can't get over the edginess of it, in like the straight up goofiness of like, man, the Ichi could have been way cooler. Like, he should have been way cooler. I think this movie could be remade and and could fix a lot of the things that bring it down to like a 2.5-star movie or a 3-star movie. It's just, yeah.
Two things,
And
two things I wanted to say. No, go ahead, go ahead.
no. You go first.
What I was gonna say, two things I wanted to say before I forget. One, about goofiness. Gigi, who is the contract killer, who gets the contracts for Ichi, I should say, him, the reveal of him taking off that bulky jacket, like, we don't see that it's a complete body double. As soon as they switch back to him, I was like, oh, that's a body double. And the CGI on his head, comical. Like, I don't like, this isn't a movie that knew it was a bad movie, and so you can laugh with them. This is a movie that they, for all intents and purposes, they were trying to make it look good, and it just looks like shit. And it's actually funny, the closer they get to his face, it's better than the further away, because they kind of have to melt his head into his neck otherwise it wouldn't work. What did you think?
Yeah, okay, so they take this man who's got to be 125 130 pounds, and they CGI his, it's meant to be like you said. They take off his coat and it's this big reveal that he's actually this 280-pound jacked bodybuilder, not this old man. But it's like, it's done so terribly that it's just laughable. And of course, like this movie is full of like really awkward things like that. And of course, like Taylor looks up from her phone while I'm
Oh,
watching
fucking
this
course.
movie at that moment. And it's just like, okay, so this is the moment that you're gonna see of this movie and think, what the fuck are you watching?
Hillary
Uh,
came up. I was watching it in my office upstairs, and she comes up at the end when the roof fight scene.
yeah,
And I'm like, stay downstairs, please. You don't want to watch this. And she comes up anyway. And she's like, I'm gonna have my headphones on. She's gonna be on her tablet. I'm like, all right, fine. And she looks up to the part when he's in the bathtub and he opens up his mouth. And she's like, ah, like you would look right there. It always happens, man.
yeah,
The other thing I was gonna say is, you know that this, do you know that this it's based off a manga?
yeah. I'd heard about that, and I'm interested in reading the manga for
Yeah,
sure.
I was gonna ask you if you had read it. So it sounds like you haven't read it.
Yeah, I haven't.
So it was
Definitely
out from
interested in it.
1998 through 2001, 10 volumes. And that design that you were talking about, Ichi, that's from the manga. That's like a direct reference to the manga. So I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now.
Yeah. It looks cooler in manga form.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, I don't know. This movie was, it was uneven for me, and kind of like, in the parts when it was good and interesting, I don't know if it outweighed all the parts that was bad and all the violence towards women and all that. Like, it was kind of it was a rough watch for me at a point. At a point. So, all right. Was there anything else you wanted to say about it?
Well, I feel that after watching this and Audition, I feel like I'm morbidly interested in these more, quote unquote super intense movies, or, debauched or torture porn type movies, just cuz it's like, okay, well, I know like these things are actually just goofy. Like they're just movies. And when I was younger, that type of stuff like made me uncomfortable and made me not want to like watch that. But yeah, it's just like Taylor was watching this thing where I think, okay, content warning, this is going to be very sick cuz it's real. So uh Taylor was watching this YouTube video of this girl who had, like, I guess they call like Munchausen by internet, and um made like kept getting trying to make herself sick, and eventually kind of like she kept going to the hospital and they were like, you're not sick and you don't have like a blood problem. And then she like itched herself into like basically a really bad sickness. And then there are like moments that she didn't watch it, but like I was hearing this being described where she was like pulling out nerve endings from her leg. And it's just stuff that you can like actually see and stuff. And so I'm like, that is
What the
like,
fuck, man?
I know. And like Taylor was like,
Okay, extreme,
yeah, I know.
extreme content warning.
So yeah, yeah. Well, I did say that, right?
I'll have to
So
put in the show notes.
like self, I don't know, but anyways, this lady ended up getting her legs amputated because of that, and I think she's fine now. But
I'm sorry. I will not have Zach on.
but but like that type of stuff way too intense for me. But when it's manufactured in a movie form, there's something that's like cool. Like it's like, how did they do that? Or, oh man, like there is violence in this movie, violence upon people, but it's like you want to know, like, oh, how did they like like you see like people's limbs being cut off or tongue being cut off, and you're like fascinated, like, how did they get the blood to look like that? How did
Oh, I just remembered about that scene with that woman.
Yeah.
Where she put her breast on the
Yeah,
table.
yeah, that was the one that I was talking about. I don't want to go into it.
Oh, I won't go into it, but yeah, that's goddamn.
Yeah. But you're thinking like, oh, they like cut up prosthetics, or they like, filled up a thing full of fake blood, and that's like fun and Halloweeny. And so like I am interested in like more movies like this, in like that kind of curiosity. And it's like, how do they get this stuff to look like that? It's fun. Versus
Yeah.
like actually like hearing these stories that Taylor's watching. I'm like, oh my God, no.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there because I have so many questions.
I
I have so many questions.
don't look it up.
We're getting. Oh no! Do not hold on. Do me a favor. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pause this recording.
Yeah.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get out of here. Let's rate this movie. Let's do it out of 5 upside down crosses. Of course. What would you rate Ichi the Killer from 2001?
I'm gonna go with 2.5 upside down crosses. It's got, like I said, some really cool stuff. But the goofiness and the tone, the inconsistent tone, and yeah, it just has missing pieces. And I feel like if this got remade, they could make this a masterpiece.
Or they can even do a sequel with Kakihara since he didn't die. Like that's the interesting character.
Kakihara died, bro.
We just talked about you talk about Ichi the Killer died.
Kakihara died.
We just talked about it that he didn't die.
Nah, he died.
What are you talking? Do you need me to?
He fell off. He stabbed his brain and fell off the side of the building.
Kakihara falls from the roof to his death. However, when Gigi finds him, Kakihara has no wound in his head. He hallucinated both Takeshi's murder and Ichi's attack. He hallucinated it, so the attack didn't happen.
Yeah, he fell off the side of the building. Himself? Yeah.
So if he died at the bottom of the stairs, right? What is he doing later on in the bathtub?
That's like some death hallucinations.
You're not making any sense. You're not making any sense. He didn't die.
Okay, so according to the plot for the for the manga, when the two finally meet, they confront their deepest, most suppressed desires, resulting in Ichi's recovery. That doesn't happen in this
exactly.
movie.
So whatever,
and Kikihara's demise.
Okay, the one thing in the manga didn't happen, so the other thing in the manga also didn't happen. You didn't prove your point.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google, does Kikihara die in this movie? Either way, it's a win-win for me, because if he lives, then cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can have a sequel. Because all I'm saying is that I would like to see the series go on, the movie series go on with Kakihara, sorry. That's the interesting character. So anyway, so for that, I will say I was between 2.5 and 3 as well. 2.5 for me, I reserve for like really terrible movies. I don't do 2.5 too much. This movie isn't terrible. Well,
why would you say 2.5 is reserved for terrible movies? Because a 2.5 is like literally like a solid movie. It's just not good and it's not bad.
That's your rating for it.
Oh, okay.
Me,
okay.
2.5 is like, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. And then below 2.5 is like, I wasted my time, or I fucking hated the movie. Typically, movies that I see are like 3 and up.
Okay, my rating is what your rating is.
Well, I'm gonna do 3. I'm gonna do 3 upside down crosses. You said 2.5 already. I'm sorry, it's down. It's down in there.
Fuck.
And so to kind of keep the cycle going, I'm going to recommend another movie to you. I'm just gonna do Japanese series with you. And we're just gonna do Takashi Miike movies. I'm gonna do another 2001 Takashi Miike movie, The Happiness of the Katakuris.
Is it a horror movie?
Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's kind of like Hausu meets like Evil Dead. or Evil Dead 2.
Well, you're selling me. It's got to be better than this.
It's the
What is that,
Sound of
Paul?
Music meets Dawn of the Dead, is what it says on the poster. See, but now I just want to torture you. Now I just want you to. I give other people good recommendations. I give you shit recommendations. No, but I don't know. I'm interested to see what you think of the Happiness of the Katakuri's. And it's cool because it's the same year as this one, so we know how Takashi Miike works, right? Where it's just like grinding
bam,
out
bam.
movies.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to take a recommendation from you from this one because you don't have any. You weren't prepared, and I don't trust you very much.
Fair. Well, oh no. Here, my recommendation is Unleashed. You haven't seen that? It stole greatly from this movie. It's not a horror movie, but it's a good action movie.
Yeah, but you kind of described Jet Li as a dog, and I didn't really like that. And
That's how he's like got a leash and everything.
He's a man enslaved by the mob since childhood and raised into behaving like a human attack dog. Okay, you're off the hook. You're not canceled. Zach Chapman is not canceled. Escapes his captors and attempts to start a new life. Okay, I've never seen this one. I'll take it. I'll take that recommendation. All right, everybody. Well, Zach, thank you once again for coming back on, and I'll probably have you back on next week. Probably not, but
whoa, did you record this?
What do you mean?
It's recorded, right?
Yes, it's recorded. It's
okay,
recording
cool.
right now.
Okay, good.
Because I paused it earlier.
Yeah.
No, I hit recording it.
Okay.
All right, Zach. Thanks for coming on. People know who you are. Do you want to put your Twitter handle?
Check out House of Blood, at Chappy Zach. Thanks. Buy House of Blood.
And I saw the Instagram post. You said it was sold out at
Tribe. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I sold them some more, so they got new copies.
Hell yeah! My royalty check will be coming pretty soon, which is
dope.
Yeah,
it'll be 30 cents.
Hey, anything else? All right, guys, we will talk to you next week. Bye.
See ya.
I'm the final voice on my show, not you.
Oh, bye bye.